Pedersen Show.
I had the Habs picked in last place in the Atlantic Division, and you didn't get upset. You knew what I was saying. And they ended up in last. They're not going to be there this year. Or maybe, it's got to be Buffalo, right? Like, how big of a step forward did they take this year?
Listen, there are so many variables that go into this. I think they have a great core of young players. I think Gordon and Hughes and Marty St. Louis have done a great job. As far as the team and what they're going to do this season, I think a lot of people have them pegged for being really low again in the standings. It's going to depend on health. One, Kirby Dach being that number 2 center in the 2-hole certainly is a big part of this because they really missed him last year. A lot was put on Suzuki, and he stepped up to the plate and really had a good season. But having Dach out really hurt them, Dvorak and Evans, and they're useful players, and they have those roles, but those guys stepping up to a second line role is really you're not gonna be burning down the rinks you go into. So a lot depends on their health, one, like any team. And a lot's going to depend on if they can collectively play better defensively. Now, I know, we know Jacques Lemaire and the trap, and everybody said, they dumb it down hockey. But here's the deal. When I think Marty's come in and he really wants guys to play offense, all right? And a lot of times to create offense at times, you have to take a lot of risk. And I think being such a young team in doing that, they've let themselves vulnerable in a lot of situations. And I don't know, I think they had 15 games or maybe a few more than 15 where they got scored on 5 times or more. You're not gonna be a serious contender to get in the playoffs if you're doing that.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
I was born to broadcast. So the World Juniors, 2012, I'm calling the national radio feed. I was sitting there in the press box of the Saddle Dome like this, playing Pac-Man on my phone. Ray Ferraro, he's like, "Are you kidding me?" And I'm like, "What are you doing?" "I'm playing Pac-Man on my phone." "I just died." And he goes, "Don't you have game prep to get ready for the game or something?" "No, I know the numbers. I know everything about them. Let's get the game going."
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yeah, it is. It's another day from Music City, USA, Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome up inside, everybody. Happy holidays from your favorite daytime sports television talk show and streaming as well. I'm RP, the host of the show. DD is with us. He is in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. The guest today, our Pro Bowl quarterback, Gus Frerotte, and the 25-season voice of the Moose Jaw Warriors, James Gallo, as we get our dub talk on. James Gallo will be with us later on today. Moose, just an update from both of us before we get into the Quick Six show topics and the warm-up here, everything that we do. I would think by 1,391 shows, people know what's going on. I'll go first, if you don't mind. I've had a lot of people write me and say, "Listen, Rod, we watch your show every day. You are living our dream trip, so please enjoy Nashville, Tennessee. We can't make it for a variety of reasons, so just enjoy it for us." And it's exactly what we're doing. Spent good time yesterday with Kate Pedersen. She's the daughter of Leaf Pedersen, CFL and TSN great. And he was the ultimate prankster. Man, longtime color commentator, former Argos and Rough Riders receiver. Going to the Oak Ridge Boys Christmas concert tonight. Country Music Hall of Fame tomorrow. We've been to the Johnny Cash Museum. We're just having a great time, and I want to thank everybody for their well wishes and the kind things that they've said. Nashville never disappoints. And you had a pretty exciting night last night in Burlington, Ontario. Tell the folks about that.
Yeah, it was really fun. Game Plus had me out as part of their full fundraising event. It was a pickleball event at the new Blue Zone courts in Burlington. A couple of months, great facility. Um, Zane Till, who's a Game Plus sponsored athlete, Major League Pickleball, one of the stars, he was out shaking hands, helping raise money, interacting with the crowd. Johnny from Walk Off the Earth, the band, was there. And we had a really great time raising some money for dementia last night. So it was awesome.
All right. Good for you, man. And hi to all our friends in Burlington, Ontario. Can you guys hit the Quick Six show horn, please? I got a lot of things I'm just burning to get to. NHL leftovers. Four Nations face-off announcement today. Buck Pierce is the new head coach in BC. Uncle Buck's back. NFL notes. What's the game of the week? NBA. Randoms. My NHL top five, bottom five. We got a lot to get to. But here's some one-timers from Tuesday Night Moose. We can't get to them all, but Kirill Kaprizov scored at 4:36 of overtime to lift the Minnesota Wild to a 3-2 victory over the visiting Vancouver Canucks. Rasmus Anderson and Kevin Ball scored power play goals, and Dan Vladar made 16 saves to post a shutty as the Calgary Flames blanked the visiting Columbus Blue Jackets on a very special night in the Saddledome as they honored Johnny Gaudreau, and the family was there. They really did a nice job. Ivan Barbashev's first period goal proved to be enough last night as the Vegas Golden Knights blanked the visiting Edmonton Oilers 1-0. Patrick Laine scored a typical Laine type goal in his highly anticipated Montreal debut. Nick Suzuki scored in overtime, and the Habs beat the New York Islanders 2-1 at Centre Bell. And Jordan Kyrou scored twice, and I guess they're calling him Hollywood Holloway. Dylan Holloway had a goal and an assist to lift the St. Louis Blues to a 4-1 victory in Winnipeg. It was the Jets' fourth straight loss. So just some leftovers coming out of last night. I'm not going to get into the Panthers game. They lost in overtime in Pittsburgh. I'm just not going to get into it all. Did you notice our breakaway bets last night, Darren? You didn't have a great night last night.
No, I did not. I was paying attention.
Okay. 6-2. 6-2. I spanked you last night on our breakaway picks last night. I don't know where to start. We'll get to our top five, bottom five later on, but spoiler alert, I don't have the Winnipeg Jets as the number one team in the NHL anymore. How can you? They've lost 4 in a row. Minnesota's overtaken them for number one overall. Let's start there. If they haven't started panicking in Winnipeg yet, they will. Should they? What do you think?
No, I think it's too early for that, but I think some panic is warranted, to be concerned. Because, that's everybody's worst fear. You have such a great season, and then you go into the playoffs, and if you lose 4 in a row, you're out. That's it. You're out.
Yeah.
So if you want to be a Stanley Cup champion, you can't lose 3 in a row. You can lose 2 in a row. You can do that a few times, but you can't lose 4 in a row. So they need to learn from the doubt that they will, but there's some mild concern. Far too early to call it need to panic.
It's the same team that got off to the best start in NHL history. So let's not forget that, Winnipeg. But if you want to panic, go ahead and panic. I want to say it's different in different parts of the world in that the Nashville Predators here are at Toronto tonight, one of 4 games in the National Hockey League. And Serena and I debate this a lot about what's a hockey town, what isn't, and she looks down on towns that aren't hockey first, and that's her thing. Or hockey isn't a bigger deal. I don't think you're going to get a lot of Preds talk on the streets of Nashville. And I've been here 4 days. I haven't experienced any. And down in Florida, the Panthers saw a 3-game win streak snap last night. They lost in overtime in Pittsburgh. That was part of the picks. I told you Spencer Knight was going to start. Sergei Bobrovsky is not on the trip. Big wars erupted. Spencer Knight, the goaltender, allowed 5 goals on 16 shots. Didn't give the Panthers a chance at all to win, and the Panthers fans have jumped all over him. There's a big debate over, if you can believe, Darren, people from northern states are dumping on Panthers fans this week, going, you don't have the coverage, and good luck. You only have a little weekly podcast, the Cats and Bolts podcast, for coverage. You guys aren't a hockey town. Literally, who cares? You have an NHL team. If they're not number one in town, so what? Can we just enjoy? Which actually brings me into the next thing, point 2. Let me get my bell. Canada, the U.S., Finland, and Sweden will announce their rosters later today for the NHL's Four Nations Face-Off. The February tournament is the league's first international tournament since the 2016 World Cup of Hockey. Each country has already named 6 players to its roster. They did that way back in June. So later today, 2 p.m. Eastern, Finland and Sweden name theirs, and then 6:30 Eastern, Canada and the USA name their rosters. And so 2016 was the last one like this, the World Cup. I don't remember this kind of excitement. However, I was head up a cow's ass at that time in my life just doing CFL. So I wasn't as big into hockey at that time. You know what I'm saying? Do you remember at that time this type of furor for the rosters and anticipation like this?
No, and there was no social media plays a role into it, but I don't really remember 96. And then the World Cup was great. I think the Americans won it, right? But I will go to 02, and there was a lot around that selection team. They had the summer camp and the illegal camp that they weren't supposed to have, and who was going to be at that camp, and then all the talk about, will Patrick Waugh be on this team, not on the team? He ultimately decided not to go. Who was going to be, there was a lot of 02 team I remember. So this kind of feels a little bit similar to that, although we sit here and think the Four Nations face-off means as much as the Olympics does. I don't think.
I'm sorry, you're cutting up really bad. Do you think it does mean as much as the Olympics or not as much as the Olympics?
Not as much.
Okay. Clark, what do you think? Can we get something done about Darren's connection, or should we just rock and roll with it for the rest of the show? Okay. All right, Moose. See if you can get that fixed up. So I just said when the rosters are going to be announced fully, and I'll be honest, I had a nice talk with a gentleman from Southern Alberta last night and said about the tone of this show and how we don't get into the arguments and fights like a lot of the other shows. And I'll give you an example why. It was nice of him to say that. And as I open up the Alaterra Skincare text line, 902-518-3033, a lot of the texts are from the night before or from yesterday's show that I didn't get to. The 32nd state that has now picked up game television in the USA is Arizona. So Keith has written in from Phoenix, Arizona, and he's a new viewer. And this is from yesterday. He says, how can you say only the Irish and Oregon are the only for sure teams to make the playoffs? Texas Longhorns are absolutely going to make the playoffs. Come on now. I was just reading Associated Press wire copy. It was not my opinion. We got to be careful on this stuff. And you're probably right, but just everybody really needs to dial it back. And I had a guy write me this morning from the Florida Panthers Fan Den podcast. He's like, these fans are over the top. They've turned on Spencer Knight. I'm like, I don't even follow it, man. I don't even get into it. I don't even read it. Okay? I would suggest you all do the same. But come on, I just don't have time for all of this. Because the one thing with the college football, it's projections. It's if so-and-so beats so-and-so this weekend, then this will happen. I don't have time for it. Hour 1 is brought to you by Culligan Water. Drink clean, live green, filter your water for a healthier tomorrow. Culligan Water of Regina. Visit CulliganRegina.com. Point of the story. I don't like confrontation. Never have, but would get into it if I had to. Now I just choose not to. And it's a hell of a lot more peaceful. I'm just passing that along. Darren, you don't like confrontation either. So you've been better at this than me. Just staying out of the muck. And you might have missed what I was just saying. A new viewer in Arizona. Arizona's the 32nd state now carrying Game Plus television statewide. And I think it's on Cox Cable down there. I'm not sure. And this guy's like, how can you say this? That the Irish and Oregon are the only two locks to make the playoff. And I'm like, that wasn't even me. So, and here comes the fights. People writing in already. I'm not even going to ask your opinion because you're like that, Darren. You were on this long before I was. So I'm going to move on to point 3. The BC Lions will officially introduce Buck Pierce as their new head coach at a news conference this morning. The former CFL quarterback's playing career began in Vancouver. Pierce replaces Rick Campbell, who was fired after a 9-9 season and a West Division semifinal loss. Why are we talking about the CFL in the dead of December? Because they've been in the news. It's a Canadian television show. We're airing in 32 U.S. states, but you're welcome to tag along, but we're going to talk about the sports that are important in Canada. And so this rumor came out at Grey Cup. I was there. The Buck Pierce was going to be the next coach of the BC Lions. His career started there. And to be honest, Darren, how this is different than a lot of other shows, I'm going to tell you a story. One night after the BC Lions visited the Saskatchewan Roughriders, I was calling the game for the Roughriders. I got invited out by the Lions kicker, Paul McCallum, and we went to the Press Box Sports Bar. Were you ever able to get there, Darren, back in the day when it rocked?
Not
You never
once.
made it? Okay. That place rocked. It rocked. The Press Box Sports Bar. It was like my second home. A little too much. But anyways,
How about
I go there with
that?
Paul McCallum, Buck Pierce, and Dave Dickinson. It's the first time I'd met Dave or Buck, and they were players, okay? And it kind of ruined my life because I'm sitting there going, these guys are really good guys. They're just like our guys, but our guys wear green, and they wear orange. But I'd never really spent time with the other team before. Do you know what I mean? They're good guys, too.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the Buck Pierce, and we really hit it off. A guy who was born in Kansas, raised in California, and had a great CFL career. Now, let me ask you this. I'm just saying they're great guys. They're normal guys. And tremendous coaches. You don't last long if you're not a good coach. What do you think this does for the BC Lions to bring Buck Pierce back? I mean, it's a natural fit. You know, he's a franchise great. The fans love him. He knows his stuff. Obviously, he's won his Grey Cup rings in Winnipeg. This is all kinds of good. Just like Mark Killam being named in Edmonton, this is all kinds of good in BC. What are your thoughts on the move?
It's all kinds of good. I'm with you on that. And he brings, all of these great things that were developed in Winnipeg and the culture and things that he learned from Mike O'Shea and everybody there. And hopefully he can bring that over to BC. Not that they need a complete revamp or anything like that, but you're just going to, keep adding and better people. The fact that he has the connection to the franchise, the history with the organization, that helps. I look at Ken Austin when he came back to Saskatchewan and helped lead them to a Grey Cup championship. A natural fit. It's easy to root for. It helps build the brand. It does all kinds of great things after, a year that was tough, especially with the quarterbacks. But Amar Dolman's done some really great things to invigorate that football community. And this is just somebody who's going to be easy to root for, fits the brand. It just checks so many boxes for me.
Well, if you'll notice where our scoops have come from, we said during Grey Cup week that Buck Pierce would be named the head coach of BC. It happened. We said that Mark Killam's going to be named head coach of Edmonton. We said it first. Those scoops came from the same guy, and I appreciate him. So everybody knows where it's at. This is the place to be. By the way, couple things. The poll question that we do daily is brought to you by EMJ Marketing. Transform your audience with powerful presentations from EMJ Marketing's elite speakers. Check out their website for more information, emjmarketing.com. The actual poll is this. What's the most surprising NHL team so far this season? The Calgary Flames, the Minnesota Wild. What else did we say? Put in there Calgary, Minnesota, Washington Capitals, or other. I'm voting for Calgary because, quite frankly, I had them dead last. And they could still finish that way, but they just keep winning. They're in year one of a rebuild. I don't think anybody can argue that this is not supposed to happen. For me, it's Calgary. Who's it for you, Moose?
For me, it's Washington. I think this is such a great story. You got the Ovi thing, and granted, he needs to get healthy and be healthy all year for this to continue to be a story. But with Washington, it feels like this is a team that was letting Ovi finish out his career and chase the record, and we're going to kind of just compliment him, and they're not going to contend, and we're just going to let this happen, and then we're going to rebuild. But Washington's a good team. Ovi's among the league leaders still, which is wild with the start that he's had, and they're just this fun story that was, I think, never supposed to happen.
A lot of credit's got to go to Spencer Carberry, the head coach, who I think is only in his second year there. But another fun poll, sneak peek for tomorrow. because we got a break here. But who's got the best roster for the four nations? Canada, USA, Finland, or Sweden? We're going to act. That's going to be our question tomorrow, but I can't wait to talk about it. And we have a lot of other topics we haven't even got to yet. Gus Frerotte, Pro Bowl NFL quarterback on the way. James Gallo, the voice of the Warriors. We'll be back in a moment here on Game Plus Television. We're streaming live, of course, and podcasting wherever the best podcasts are found.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Yo, a live look in downtown Nashville. Predators on the road tonight visiting the Toronto Maple Leafs. By the way, as sports fans, there's nothing we love more than a comeback in the game against wrinkles, scars, and acne. It's never too late to revitalize your skin with Aloterra Naturals. Check them out at aloterra.com and use promo code RP20 for 20% off your first order. Let's bring the Moose in. Moose, you've been to Nashville before. There's a good look at that. It ain't,
God, I love that shot, man.
It ain't tropical outside, okay? When you and I were here in 2018, it was this exact week. and it was chilly then.
Yeah.
I just at that time didn't live in Florida, so it really was no big deal. Serena's been running around complaining about how cold it is all week, and I don't. Me too. But I said to her, "Hey, I would rather be here than to have stayed home in Florida because the people are great. We are seeing our friends." But I'm going to tell you this, as the Titans fan that you are, as long as I've known you, you've always been a Titans fan. You will always be a Titans fan. You don't change your teams like you change your underwear like I do. There's very little talk about the Titans, Darren. There's very little signage. Like they're in season, as you know, barely. But on the light posts, it's Predators players. You know, like banners of players, and I haven't really been around enough to talk like what's the buzz. I haven't been going to sports bars and talking to hotel bellmen. I've been doing country music things. But I just thought you should know. I've heard very little Titans talk here, other than the new stadiums going up. That's pretty cool. But you know all these.
Yeah, that's going to be cool. I think it's partly because the team's not very good either. And I remember in 2018, even when we were there, and like Derrick Henry and I think Marcus Mariota was still there. That was the last year of him before Ryan Tannehill took over in 2019, I believe. But there was some Titans flags in the bars down Broadway and Predators flags and that type of thing. And they were decent. They were getting better. So there was a little more of that. I can see why there wouldn't be, but lots of Predators stuff. And a lot of buzz, especially outside that arena. What a cool atmosphere Preds games were.
Oh, yeah. Lots of fun. I was hoping they'd be home this week. They're not. It's not the end of the world. Hang on, guys. Gus Frerotte is coming up later on this hour. Get on the bus, Gus. They're asking questions already. Can you write in? I appreciate you. I'll try to remember your questions, but I can't get. Wait till he gets on would be better. He's in the next segment. Paul, watching in Humboldt, he writes in and he says, regarding the fluff that's out there on coverage of your teams, Paul says, the socials algorithms feed me lots of opinion posts about my teams. Most of them are fluff. The RP show is the best for insider scoops, opinions, and rants. And congrats to Buck Pierce. Before we go any further on that, I appreciate you saying that. I try not to deliver fake news as much as possible. And as I said to Darren, the South Florida Tribune is trying to get me into covering college sports, not just college football, but college basketball. And I said, no, I don't want to do it. And they said, well, you're a one-trick pony. I said, that's fine. That's what I want. I only want to cover and talk about the NHL. I don't, at my age, I'd like to think I can pick and choose what I do. Tony in Cochrane, Alberta writes in, he says, Gus Frerotte, he played for everyone back in the 90s and 2000s, like Joe Flacco has recently. Yes, he has, and I'd like to say that has given him a deep breadth of knowledge of all these markets and obviously quarterback play. Gus has been on this show a lot, and he's a good friend. Thank you, Jeff, the Stamps fan, for pointing out that Ted Gavaya has been named the general manager of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. So that's the other breaking news. Buck Pierce, the new head coach in BC. Ted Gavaya, the new general manager in Hamilton. But I'm not done on this yet. Later on today, the rosters will be announced for the Four Nations face-off. Who do we think's the best? Again, more conjecture? I don't know. It's a short tournament. It's not a Stanley Cup. It's not a best-of-7 series. And it ain't a one-game showdown. So what I can tell you is I'll be cheering for Canada. Write it down, Moose. Even though I'm a permanent resident of the United States of America, I will always cheer for Canada in international competition. Always. So I'll be cheering for Canada. Just trying to remember in a 2-week or whatever this tournament, however what the length is, what gets it done. It's different than a playoff series, right? So we need to put some thought into this.
Yeah. I'll go on a limb. I mean, the projections. And I would go along with the masses. Most of the hockey analysts that I respect and follow, I think we kind of all on the same page, that the Americans probably have the best roster right now on paper, or the best projection on paper. You look up front, with Austin Matthews and Jack Eichel and the Tkachuk brothers and Cole Caulfield. Like, you got the top goal scorers in the NHL. You got Tage Thompson's going to be a part of it. On the back end, you got big guys, you got puck movers, Quinn Hughes. And I think we're all okay, I'm okay saying that they probably have the best goaltending too, which in a short series, a short tournament can steal you some games. They've got it all, man. So I think the Americans maybe will go in as the favorite. And tomorrow we'll be able to tell you, because the betting odds, the sports books will look at the rosters and they'll be able to have the betting out tomorrow who's favored to win. And we'll tell you. And I bet you it's the USA.
Write it down, everybody. I got it. The Americans probably have the best roster on paper. You said it, Moose. He said it. But let's remember a couple things. They don't measure this. And Tage Thompson would win a lot of skills competitions. I'm not sure. And they haven't done a whole lot of winning with him. Yeah, exactly. So it's not a skills competition. It's countries that really want to win. We can quote John Lynch in this. They really want to win. You know how we used to talk?
God, that makes me feel
Everybody wants to win, John. Say what?
I said, God, that makes me feel good when you do that.
The Lynchisms. They really want to win. That reminds me. Alaterra Skincare text line 902-518-3033. Vintage Sasko has written us, and he says, hey, solid show. Thanks for the press box flashbacks. Memories, Rod Pedersen burger, and midget wrestling. One of the greatest nights of my life. Those athletes were phenomenal.
How about
Goosebumps. Signed Vintage Sasko. Oh, yeah, we had midget wrestling. We had the Rod Pedersen burger. What we didn't do in that place, man. Can't believe it's not still open. 902-518-3033. Randy in Winnipeg says, Canada has the best forwards by far. Yeah, it's going to take the best team to win it. End of story, which reminds me, we can talk about who's the biggest surprise. That's our poll question today. Who's the biggest surprise so far in the NHL season? How anybody couldn't say it's the Calgary Flames. Like if you told me that the Capitals were going to have a great season, yeah, didn't surprise me. The Flames are in year one of what I thought was a rebuild. And all of a sudden, they're in a playoff spot. They're not slowing down. And I just got to give all the credit in the world to Ryan Huska because, while I said last week I could see the bottom falling out of this at any time, and it still could, it's not looking like it's going to. And I think, I'm not telling any secrets anybody doesn't know. The Flames historically across the National Hockey League will tell you have had a culture problem. Not a shock to anybody. And Ryan Huska and Craig Conroy seem to have come in and just smashed that. It is possible. We also thought Todd McClellan was doing that in Edmonton, and he wasn't, it ended up he wasn't able to finish the job there. So it's a little early to make any judgments on the Calgary Flames, but so far so good. And to me, they are by far the most surprising team in the NHL. But that's just me. The opinion show. Let's not get our panties in a bunch. We didn't really get into the NFL as much as I would have liked, but we'll do that next segment with our good friend Gus Frerotte. Be thinking of this, Darren. NFL Week 14, what's the game of the week? For the teams that I follow, the Dolphins, just because I live there, they're home to the Jets. And the Dallas Cowboys face Cincy on Monday Night Football. We need to talk about the Bengals with Gus. But I'll just throw a couple things in here. Point 5, Scotty Barnes had a career-high 35 points as the Toronto Raptors held off the visiting Indiana Pacers 122-111 after the Raptors led by as many as 24 points. The Raps won back-to-back games and 3 of their past 4 NBA contests. R.J. Barrett of Mississauga finished with 29 points for Toronto. Don't you live in Mississauga, Moose?
I do.
Do you live anywhere near R.J. Barrett?
I don't know. He doesn't, there's not a big sign up on his driveway. I do go for a lot of walks and drives around here.
Do you remember when we were driving through Nashville on the tour bus? And the
Yes.
tour guide was like, Taylor Swift's condo is on the top of that building right there. And I remember thinking, I wonder how Taylor Swift feels that this bussy or tour guide is telling every jabroni that comes through Nashville where she lives. How do you think she feels? And I wonder if the guy's still doing that.
I don't know. But when you do come up here to visit, and you need to, and in the summer, but we'll go on a little tour. I know where all the big estates and stuff are, and maybe RJ Barrett is the one there's one that has a big brass unicorn out front with a fountain in front of the house. Maybe that's RJ Barrett's. It's either his or Drake's.
Well, you told me what you were paying to live there. So you might be very close to RJ Barrett. You might actually be in the same building based on what you're paying. Holy wackadoodle.
Spicy.
Shoot, there's a lot going on. There's always a lot going on, Moose. I'm just checking from the comments here. Buck Pierce being named the new head coach. By the way, we're looking at having him on the program on Friday. It looks like we will. Thank you to the BC Lions for making that happen. We're getting all the coaches across the CFL, the new ones, the old ones. We got a good reputation clearly in the CFL. And Clark said, if you don't mind me quoting you, Clark, the BC Lions are the easiest to deal with, the most accommodating of, most of the teams are really good. But they used to have an award in the CFL for the top PR department. And Edmonton used to win it every year. I don't even think they hand it out anymore. It's just they don't give out the Reporter of the Year award anymore. They don't give out the PR Staff of the Year. I don't get it. But hey, I don't have to. See you in hour 2, Moose. What do you say?
See you then.
We're going to break early to hopefully get us more time with Gus Frerotte. The Pro Bowl quarterback joins us next. We are live on the Game Plus television network, streaming live, of course, and podcasting wherever the best podcasts are found.
Skate into the holiday season with the Stars. Stars on Ice 2024 Holiday Tour. With figure skating icon Elvis Stoico, Olympic medalist Caitlin Osmond, Caitlin Weaver and Andrew Poget, Keegan Messing, Satoko Miyahara, and more. Stars on Ice. Coming to Moose Jaw Event Center December 20th. Unwrap your tickets at starsonice.ca.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Mo.
The moustache is calling. Raise funds, save lives. Donate at Movember.com.
From cash spiels to grand slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Live look-in on Music City, USA. Quiet Wednesday morning. Hey, by the way, hockey teams and fans, have you been to Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary yet to improve your game or just have fun? With state-of-the-art equipment, spacious shooting lanes, and games for all ages, Overtime Hockey Lanes is the perfect destination to build your team, whether you're from the Calgary area or if you're on a road trip from out of town. Book your lanes today, 28th Street Northeast, Calgary. 28th Street Northeast, Calgary. All right. Let's bring the Moose back in because we just got a note. Gus Frerotte has bailed on us. He's not quite. They're trying to get a hold of him. Thank you, Rocco. The joys of live television. But that's okay because you people, if we're allowed to say that, are filling up the inbox with wonderful comments today. John in Winnipeg writes in and says, Buck Pierce will do well and hey, you found it. You people? Is that what we're using it for?
Wow.
Buck Pierce will do well in BC. He'll bring his talents and expertise to help Nathan be a superstar quarterback in the CFL. Scott in Vancouver says, what's Gus Frerodte's opinion on what Jaden Daniels is doing in Washington? Unfortunately, we're going to have to wait to get the answer to that because Gus has just informed Clark that he's not available just as we were going to air. How about that? Utah Darren writes in and he says, Gus gave us a great moment when he headbutted a wall after scoring a touchdown. Unfortunately, he didn't return to that game.
Hot damn!
And one of the biggest reasons I wanted to bring you back in here, Moose, is to address this from North Texas Mean Green. That's the account that's watching us on a streaming feed right now, says, I feel bad for Darren and the official reveal the NHL had planned. Your column this morning is seemingly outdated as the TSN insiders spoiled the entire roster last night. I'm sorry. I just did a quick search of the TSN website. They did not spoil the entire roster, but nice try because, yeah, I think you alluded to this earlier. Caulfield will not be on the USA roster. Line A is going to be on the Finland roster, Darren, but nobody has said whether Connor Bedard is not, and that's the only thing most people care about, or that's at least the number one thing everybody cares about. Do you want to address this guy who's trying to poop on your parade?
I'm not sure if Caulfield will or won't. I haven't seen that, but maybe I'm missing that one. I haven't been on social in the last little bit, but I think what I saw from TSN, again, not really sure, is they gave their final projected rosters, and that's who they think is going to be on the team. Now, things are leaking, like congratulations around different players because the players all found out, right? And everybody's trying to keep it quiet. I think the one I did hear is that Nick Suzuki likely not going to make it from the Canadians to Team Canada. And I think that would be just around, obviously his teammates know, right? They all know. And eventually, and it's going to leak at some point. But I don't know if TSN said, here's the roster. I think they branded it as this is our projected roster. So like Anthony Cirelli was on it from Tampa. Travis Konechny was on their roster. Brandon Hagel around the bottom. And they did not have Connor Bedard on it. So perhaps Bedard's not going to be on it. And I'll be wrong, which will be okay.
Gus Frerotte bailing on us today, unfortunately, the 17-year NFL quarterback and Pro Bowler. We'll get him at a later date. So that's why Moose has been brought back on to discuss this. It's the biggest news in Canada today. I felt when I was writing my South Florida Tribune column, it was like, to all of Canada and hockey fans in the United States, I felt exactly like Foster Hewitt. Canadians are very excited about this. Only U.S. hockey fans are. The rest of America doesn't care. And that's just the way that it is. I want to point something out to everybody. So just so you know, Darren, I went to the TSN website after this guy's comment just to see what they put on there. And Pierre LeBrun, who's become a good friend, and Darren Dreger, who's been a longtime friend of mine, they're dropping this like it is fact. Cole Caulfield will not be on Team USA. Tage Thompson will not be on Team USA. Line A will be on Team Finland. I didn't see much info. And Clark, you're welcome to jump in my ear with anything you may have to add to this. But you have to understand something. LeBrun and Dreger are super tight. Like and Bob McKenzie before them. Because they've worked so hard to be such great insiders in the game. When I see them speak or read what they write, I just feel like it's Gary Bettman's got a pipeline from the Avenue of America's 6th Avenue in Manhattan to them. You know what I mean? They are just a conduit from the NHL office. That's not a bad thing. LeBrun, Dreger, Elliot Friedman in some ways. When the league wants to get something out, they go through those guys. That's the way that it is now. So my point is, if anybody saw the interview yesterday, we had Jersey Jim on here from New Jersey talking about these rosters. I said, I'm consciously staying away from any insiders or anybody who thinks they're insiders saying who's going to be on or off. Because I don't want to know. I don't want to spoil the surprise. Also don't want to be the guy to piss off the NHL by spilling the beans that they didn't want spilled. LeBrun and Dreger can do that because they're league guys. It's a very small group that I don't even need this full hand to count who's on that list of guys that can do that. Over to you.
Yeah, but I think, they're doing it in a way that's not, it's tough because...
Not disrespectful. It's not disrespectful.
Exactly. I think that's the biggest thing. And I think everybody can take a note from that too, is there's a way to be critical. There's a way to go about business and be respectful. And that's, imagining how you would be if you did it in the same room and with somebody to their face. Too often we want to get, click words and we want to get, all the clickbait and buzzwords and we want to get this attention and we don't care if we're disrespectful, but they do it in a way that's not disrespectful. I think there's still a lot of intrigue around tonight, which I'm really excited about. Right when we get off the air at 2 Eastern, we're going to find out the Sweden and the Finland rosters. And then tonight we'll get Canada and the USA. We'll start to find out pretty soon.
Well, again, those guys, it's not disrespectful. They're speaking pretty much on behalf of the NHL, but they've been very careful to not spill the beans on the biggest news, which is Bedard. So B. Henderson writes in from Winnipeg and says, the Canadian players that don't get picked can make up a roster that could probably win this tourney. Potato, we could talk about that forever. It doesn't matter. We're going to have a Canadian roster, a U.S. roster, a Finland roster, a Sweden roster. They'll drop the puck, and we'll see which country is the best. I'll be cheering for Canada. At this point, until I see the rosters, I can't say who's the best. I don't think anybody can, but you're going to hear a lot of people that think they do. Scott in Vancouver writes in, and he says, Sportsnet screwed up long ago, letting Darren Dreger go to TSN. Not sure whatever happened there. Well, Scott, Dreger told the story on this show because he's the pride of Langenburg, Saskatchewan. And by the way, when I got into the Western Hockey League as the 20-year-old voice of the Prince Albert Raiders, Dreger was the voice of the Brandon Wheat King. I think you knew that, Darren, didn't you? On 880 CKLQ, yep. You knew that? Bobby Lowe's was the head coach. Kelly McCrimmon was the general manager, if I have that right. Any of you Manitobans watching will clear that up. But I've known Dreger like forever, since I was 20. And I'm old. And he said, and that's not, again, not being cocky. He just said he had so many scoops and so much insider information with Sportsnet, which at that time was not the NHL rights holder nationally. Bob McKenzie and TSN, I think it was Bob specifically, called Dreger up and said, hey, I'm tired of fighting you for scoops, so why don't you come over here? And then they made him an offer he couldn't refuse. And that was from Dreger. He told it on this story. It was like one of the very few, one of the first interviews he ever did on this story. So that's what happened there, Darren. And now I'm sure that still happens, but that's what happened there. Okay, I'm going to let you go and make your own meme. Are you prepared for the flack that's going to come your way regarding this American roster post of yours, this bold statement?
Yeah. I'll take it. Something's in my coffee this week. All these statements, but I'll take it. I'll take it.
All these hot takes. Okay, we'll be right back. And you take over, everybody, with the questions and comments that you want, plus a sports update. CFL, NFL, NHL. That's our wheelhouse. And Four Nations face off today from Nashville and Toronto. It's the RP Show on Game Plus TV, streaming live and podcasting wherever the best podcasts are found.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
From cash spiels to grand slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Mo.
The Moustache is calling. Raise funds, save lives. Donate at Movember.com.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
We're live from Music City, USA, +4 Celsius here in Nashville. I don't know what that works out to Fahrenheit, and God willing, never really will. I'm not moving off the Celsius scale, I don't think. Hey, it's a sports update and viewer takeover time. Canada, the U.S., Finland, and Sweden will announce their rosters today for the NHL's Four Nations face-off. The February tournament is the league's first international tournament since the 2016 World Cup of Hockey. Each country has already named 6 players to its roster. Moose said he doesn't know what he's put in his coffee this week, what's in it, because he's had the hot takes. And just a little more on how the media works now compared to what it used to. You got to have the hot takes. That's what sells. The insiders have their info, but when's the last time Darren Dreger had a hot take? They don't do that. They report the breaking news that the NHL wants you to know. The hot takes is what we do, and the leagues don't really like that. But that's okay. They're not paying us. The Toronto Maple Leafs will look to extend their winning streak to 3 games tonight as they entertain the slumping Nashville Predators. Nashville enters play on a 4-game skid. In other action, Chicago welcomes Boston, Dallas visits L.A., and Anaheim entertains Vegas. I'm hoping to be able to get this Nashville-Toronto game tonight on television, but we're in a Airbnb here, believe it or not, and they don't have ESPN. Oh! Never thought I could survive without it, but then I realized, wait a minute, I can stream it. And we also have Sling. So I've been watching the NHL Network because I had to watch the highlights of the Panthers and the Penguins last night, and it was not the Panthers' night. They got to get Bob back soon. Colt writes in and says, let's go. Great show today. I appreciate that, especially since Gus Frerotte bailed on us. Juan Soto is starting to drop teams from negotiations ahead of baseball's winter meetings next week. The free agent slugger is likely to approach or set a record contract. Soto's agent says the outfielder has begun the process of eliminating teams, but doesn't think a decision is imminent in the near future. Soto has met with 5 teams so far, including the Toronto Blue Jays. I tell you what, I love the name, Juan Soto. And I really enjoyed the summer broadcasting baseball in the Western Canadian Baseball League. We had Thomas Soto, the all-star third baseman for the Moose Jaw Millers. Met his family from Round Rock, Texas, Mother Brandy. Yeah, I love those names. I love those schools. I learned so much about geography and what the hell was it? Texas is one of the states that carries Game Plus television and this show. We had a player from the University of Texas, TB. I'm like, what the hell is that? Pueblo? Pueblo's in Colorado. And then one of the families was watching the game that we were broadcasting and said, oh, it's Permian Basin. It's West Texas. Oh. And then I'm watching Landman last week, the pilot with Billy Bob Thornton, filmed in West Texas, the oil story, and they talked about the Permian Basin. I'm like, I knew about that thanks to the Western Canadian Baseball League. Coop, what the hell was the guy's name? Not that any of you would care, but the slugger from the Sylvan Lake Gulls. He played at the University of Texas, Permian Basin. The more you know, the further you go. NBC. The sports update's brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. Get this one. In Landmark Cinemas now, Red One. After Santa Claus, codename Red One, is kidnapped, the North Pole's head of security, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, must team up with the world's most infamous bounty hunter, played by Chris Evans, in a globe-trotting, action-packed mission to save Christmas. In Landmark Cinemas now, Red One. I'm going to it as soon as I get home. Sea Lightning writes in and says, could Connor Bedard be of the right age to play in the World Junior Tournament? Yeah. But apples and oranges. But yeah, I thought you were going to say is he of the age to play in the Four Nations Face-Off, which he is because it's an NHL tournament. But he is also of age to play in the World Jays. A really good question when you think about it. Yeah, he's 19. He could, but he won't. Anyways, don't go anywhere. We got a great hour 2 coming up, and we'll be joined by James Gallo, the voice of the Moose Jaw Warriors. Get our Dub Talk on here on Game Plus and streaming. We'll be right back after this.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
I was born to broadcast. So the World Juniors 2012, I'm calling the national radio feed. I'm sitting there in the press box of the Saddle Dome like this, playing Pac-Man on my phone. Ray Frerotte, he's like, "Are you kidding me?" And I'm like, "What are you doing?" "I'm playing Pac-Man on my phone." "I just died." And he goes, "Don't you have game prep to get ready for the game or something?" "No, I know the numbers. I know everything about them. Let's get the game going."
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Born to broadcast certain things, not everything. But it is the RP Show broadcasting live from Music City, USA, Nashville, Tennessee. We're having a great time and a great week here. Thanks for those that have written and said you're living our dream trip. Go have fun. And we are. And report on every little thing. And we're doing that too. Let's bring the Moose in. He's in Toronto, where the Leafs are home to the Nashville Predators tonight. And we will be in this segment, maybe the next one, playing our NHL Breakaway Bets segment. It's a very big day, Moose. It's a very big day. The NHL Four Nations face-off rosters will be announced actually in an hour's time. Finland, Sweden will be announcing theirs. I feel like there's far less anticipation over the one that'll drop tonight. The two that'll drop at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, Canada and USA. Darren's doing his best to ignite a border war. Last hour, he said the USA has the best team on paper. The USA has the best team on paper. We haven't even seen the rosters yet, but we all kind of got a pretty good idea, I think, what the rosters are going to be. So there's that. We have discovered that Arizona has been added to the Game Plus family in terms of states that carry it. We're on national television in Canada. 32 U.S. states, now including Arizona. And Keith has written in, I just want to say this. He was watching the replay yesterday, judging by the time, Darren, that his text came in. But he said, how can you say only the Irish and Oregon are the only for sure teams to make the college football playoff? Texas Longhorns are absolutely going to make the playoffs. Come on now. I was just reading wire copy, and you're probably right. But you know way more of the college football scene than I do. And kudos to you, Darren. My hat's off to you for that. But I want to say this. I had predicted a Texas-Miami national championship. Do I need to remind you the Hurricanes started 9-0? Now they're in danger of not even making the top 12 teams. Yes, Texas, my good friend Steve Sarkisian, yeah, they're going to be there. So you're right, Keith. But it just seems overwhelming to me. I know I'm making way too big a deal out of it. But
well, very few are locks.
You?
Yeah, very few are locks. And that's the thing about social media. People will, and this type of environment we're in, people say, they're a lock. Well, they're not actually a lock because we don't know what the committee's thinking. And, you know, you got to look. And is it Texas and Georgia? Who's in the SEC title game? I got to go back and look now because my mind is playing tricks. I'm doubting myself. So maybe look at the big board and look at who's in the title game while I go through this.
It has to be Texas, Georgia. You know, who else would it be? It's not Alabama.
Right. Right. So when you look at the title game, and I'm pretty sure it is.
Not Florida.
If Texas loses the title game, now all of a sudden the committee might do some crazy things. Like South Carolina's a team in the conversation that's been so good lately. Down the stretch, they're hot. Miami, a team that people don't understand why they're ranked behind Alabama, and the committee's still got the love for Alabama, who are in the top 12 right now, I think at 11. So these unpredictability. The only things that we know is you're right, or the copy's right. Oregon's in. They haven't lost. If they lose, there's still a one-loss team. They're going to be in. It's a lock, right? Other teams that don't have to play, you know, are going to be like Indiana, I believe, is a lock because they don't play now. They don't have another game. So they're not going to have another loss. The committee thinks they're in today, so they're going to be in a week. You know, Penn State, that's another question if they play in the title game against Oregon. So teams that play in the title games, if you lose, you're in danger of maybe going down a little bit further because the last thing, and I know it's a real confusing, a loss now is worse than a loss at the beginning of the season. You want the best 12 teams in today. That's hard to do.
Yeah, and Miami, again, cruised all year, and now looks like they're wilting, lost last weekend, and are going to be out. And it's just wild. Colt writes in and says, yep, Texas beat Texas A&M to make it to the SEC championship game against Georgia in Atlanta.
Thank you.
Okay. So I guess my point is, Darren just said it's very confusing. It's still going to come down in some ways to the committee. I get the conference champions are going to make it. There's 5, right? And then there's at-large bids after that. It's a lot. I would rather just stick to hockey because I know it better. That's all I'll say. And Colt also says, how was the pizza place last night? Well, our good friend, the hotelier to the stars, Jeff Pedersen, Darren, said, you guys got to try out this pizza place called ME Squared. He was just in Nashville. We'd already been to Hattie B's, the first place we went on Sunday. So we took Kate Pedersen down there. Our older viewers will know her dad, Leaf, Argonauts, Rough Riders, great receiver in the CFL, and then for many, many years, the color commentator on TSN. I asked Kate over supper last night at the pizza place, how old was your dad when he died? Died of a heart attack in his sleep. Horrible. He was 57. I think I told you yesterday he was 52, but he was 57. The ultimate prankster, her dad, Leaf Pedersen. Oh, we had a great time. I was telling you on the phone earlier, we spent a couple hours there yesterday, but it was Detroit deep dish style pizza. And it had everything on it. I loved it. So, yeah, thanks for asking. We had a great time with Kate. and we'll be hooking up later on with Stu Grimson later on this week. Hey, thank you, Ryan O'Media, checking in, Darren. Ryan O'Media from the Atlanta area. He says, another great show. Appreciate you, Ryan. He's the guy that, of course, put us on the air in Atlanta for many, many years and broke his leg in 2 places and his ankle a couple of weeks ago and is currently on the mend. Yeah. Utah Darren writes, and he says, anyone who was shocked by a bad Alabama team being in the playoff has not been paying attention for the last 20 years. Well, they're not in the playoff yet, right? And are you saying, Utah Darren, that it's because of politics? Is that what you're saying? Because, you know what? That comes back around. Funny how this all ties in to the Four Nations face-off rosters being announced later today. Because Terry the lawyer in Calgary, Brent in Wellington, Florida, you need to zip it. He writes in, he says, are you still picking Miami versus Texas, Rod? Who are you picking, Brent? I didn't say you put your balls on the table with any prediction. Anyways. I've been enjoying this coverage about Joey Decord. He's in Seattle, the goalie in Seattle, saying that he might be, who knows, he might end up being Canada's starting goalie. Although he's not Canadian, but he has a Canadian passport. I don't even. Terry in Calgary, Terry the lawyer wrote in, he goes, he's got the best stat. They don't name these rosters based on stats. Politics gets in the way here too. Politics gets in the way of everything. In a way, I'll be happy when these rosters drop later today because at least we'll have an answer. And to these like Joey Decord, what? Come on. What are we talking about here? Aiden Hill got the shutty last night for Vegas against the Edmonton Oilers in a 1-0 game. If it's not Aiden Hill starting the first game, former Portland Winterhawk, get out here with your Joey Decord. What do you think, dear? They don't go on stats for tournaments like this. They don't.
Well, it's a situation with the World Juniors too. Andrew Crystal in Cologne is having a great year. He's by far the leading scorer, all the rest. Now, he got the invite to camp, but he's not a shoo-in for Canada's roster, even though he's the leading scorer in the Western League and, in the Canadian Hockey League across the country, doing so well. Mind-blowing stats. But again, it's more than that. It's who do you trust in the moment to step up and play well? And a lot of it, guys with a great season, it's going to make you consider them for sure. But I even wrote this morning, I think it's Aiden Hill, Jordan Binnington, and I would put Logan Thompson as my third with what he's done in Washington early on in the year. That's what the three I would roll with. And Aiden Hill's probably the starter. Unless you're going to have fun. And if I was picking as an intrigue, I like the Marc-Andre Fleury thing, but do I think he's on the roster? I doubt it.
Rich in Edmonton writes in, he says, Aiden Hill is the starter. Full stop. Well, that's what I think. But I mean, Rich Sutter was on here 2 days ago and said it's Jordan Binnington. Right? Oh, God, now we got maintenance.
Well, and look what happened.
At this
look what happened at the Olympics.
Yeah.
I go back to my own favorite, the 02 Olympics. And it was going to be Patrick Waugh's team, but he said no. And then it was Curtis Joseph's team. And he was the starter. And he had the tough outing against Sweden. And then it went to Martin Brodeur, and they never looked back. It was his crease the rest of the way. So we never know what's going to... It could be Binnington in game one, could be Aiden Hill. Doesn't necessarily mean that's the way they'll continue, but hard to argue Aiden Hill being the starter. He probably should.
11-11 Mountain. Thank you, BW in Edmonton, for pointing that out. He says, late getting in, but 11-11, you people. There's 2 sound effects hitting right at once.
Beautiful. Hell yes.
Tony, just to pause the nonsense, of the hockey conjecture talk. I'd far rather talk about this than college football because at least I have my footing on this. Goaltending, you know. I don't know it, but I think I do. Tony from Cochrane, Alberta writes in and he says, I'm loving the live shots of Nashville, Clark. Real beauty, Clark. He goes, he says, I sure wish I was there too. It is fantastic, Tony. And I'll try and pass along as many of these stories and a feel of for the places I can. But we're in this Airbnb. Darren, I should send you photos. It's a beautiful, quaint little house. I said to Serena, could you live here? She's like, absolutely. 3 bedrooms. It looks like it's something out of a movie. White picket fence. But we can't get the fireplace going. Just so you know, everybody, it's been below zero. It's been into the freezing temperatures. I'm sure we'll live, just saying. So we've had probably 3 maintenance people coming and trying to get the fireplace going. We're not idiots. We're country kids. Like, if we can't get it going, there's probably a serious problem. They've been fixing that. I told Darren the house alarm's been going off in the middle of the night, 3 a.m., waking us up. We can't get that figured out. We're trying to get it all figured out. And for Tony and Cochrane, here's another one for you. Do you remember when Nashville got a team in the late 90s, Darren, and Barry Trotz, I believe he was the first ever head coach, was he not, folks? And he said, well, we'll lead the league in anthem singers. If you haven't been here and you don't get it, and Darren has been here, this is my 3rd time, it's all about the singers and it's all about the music. And I just want to tell you that the other night they were lighting the Christmas tree. Like, we have a big thing in Boca Raton where they light the tree in Meisner Park and people show up for it. I've never quite got why it was that big of a deal. They do it in New York in Times Square at the Rockefeller Plaza. And they did it here, but guess who was lighting the tree? Vince Gill and Amy Grant. No big deal. Right in front of the state capitol building in Nashville, Vince Gill and Amy Grant pulling the Clark Griswold. Ta-da! Imagine if it didn't light. Imagine if it didn't light. Must be a bulb out somewhere. We're going inside, Clark. Let us know if you get it working.
I can see it in my mind.
What? Oh, yeah.
Right?
I was thinking of the movie Liar, Liar the other day and how that, if it's not your favorite movie, Darren, is it top 3?
It's up there, yeah, for sure it is.
You quote it all the time.
So quotable. It's so good.
So it was me. 902-518-3033 is the Alaterra Skincare text line. Come on, let's get it going here. We haven't had any text come in since the guy from Phoenix was up our ass about the college football projections. And Vintage Sasko writing us earlier about our press box sports bar stories. If you missed it, you're going to have to go back and watch it. I'm not bringing them up again. The text line's brought to you by Alaterra Skincare. It's not your mom's skin cream, guys. It's a game changer. As sports fans, there's nothing we love more than a comeback in the game against wrinkles, scars, and acne. It's never too late to revitalize your skin with Alaterra Naturals. Their website is alaterra.com. Check them out and use the promo code RP20 for 20% off your first order. We have our NHL breakaway bets on the way and whatever you folks would like to talk about, plus my NHL top 5, bottom 5. We'll be right back here on Game Plus Television, streaming live and, of course, podcasting wherever the best podcasts are found.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Sports fans, join the Rod Squad newsletter today. Stay ahead of the game with exclusive insights, updates, contests, and exclusive content delivered straight to your inbox. Sign up for free today at rodpedersen.com. It includes the ever-popular 10 weekend things column as well. I am in Nashville, as you see, the beautiful Music City. Moose is in Toronto. What's popping in Toronto this week, Moose, by the way? What's going on? What's new?
The snow is settling in. That's brand new. We got our first snowfall of the year. Came in last night. Leafs are home tonight to Nashville, as you mentioned. So that's it. And the holiday spirit, man. We're into the holidays almost.
Do they have a tree lighting ceremony in Toronto like we just had in Nashville this week with Vince Gill and his beautiful partner, Amy? You don't know?
I feel like everybody does, or the city hall lighting or something. I actually don't know, but it's something worth checking out.
Joshua Dorr has checked in from South Florida. He's somewhat of a neighbor of mine, although I don't think we're actually neighbors. Actually, it was him, his wife, and beautiful son stopped me on the concourse at the Panthers game against Colorado 2 Saturdays ago. You saw the photo that I posted? That was Joshua. He writes in and says, "What's going on, Rod?" We're talking Canadian sports, Joshua. You're welcome to stay. I hope it tickles your fancy. In our community, we have a lighting of the tree in Meisner Park, but Serena and I have never gone to it. It's lighting a tree. How exciting can it be? Moose mentioned the Leafs and Preds tonight, so I want to get to our NHL breakaway bets in a second. Plus, my top 5, bottom 5. Like, I don't understand this. Why do people get so excited about rankings and stuff? Because they don't mean jack squat. Like, even for that matter, predictions. Like Brent from Wellington, Florida wrote in earlier and said, "How do you feel about your Texas-Miami prediction now?" I know he's just trolling. He's one of my closest friends down there. But it's like, it doesn't mean anything. What we thought a month ago, like my list, I had to change it. I wrote the column on Tuesday morning for the South Florida Tribune. It didn't get published till last night, and by the time it did, everything had changed. Winnipeg went into the day tied for first, came out of the day not in first. Minnesota is. Things are changing so fast in every league. I don't understand why people care so much. But just to answer some questions here, Monty, you know Monty, in Saskatoon, he writes in and he says, have you been to Garth Brooks, Rod? Seen him twice. Funny you would say that, Monty, because once was in Saskatoon at SaskTel Center, but he was a huge star by then, almost passé. I saw him at the Craven Country Jamboree in 1991. 1990, the album No Fences had just come out, and he was not a big star yet, to the degree that he came in driving his own bus. I was kind of a big deal. That was when I was a country DJ, Darren, so I was camped 100 yards away from the stage. You probably don't know this, but the media, we had our own camping site right in the middle of the infield of the huge chuck wagon racing track. These are the American people are like, what the hell is he talking about? Anyways, Garth Brooks came in. Are you familiar with the grounds of the Craven Country Jamboree, Darren? Okay. For those that don't know, huge grandstand and a chuck wagon racing track. For you Americans, think NASCAR, but with horses. And I'm camped inside the track in a tent. And Garth Brooks comes in the night before his concert, and the reason you could tell it was him, he was hunched like all over his steering wheel. He's a big guy with his cowboy hat on the back of his head, and he's driving his bus. And I'll never forget, the owners of Craven, was it Father Larry at that time? I think it was. But he said they got him for 20 grand because he wasn't a big deal yet. He would obviously go on to command millions for a concert.
What a
that was
steal.
his very first, like 20 grand. Garth Brooks. I've seen him a couple times. I've seen everybody. Don't even ask. It's a much shorter list who I haven't seen of country music. And tonight, we're going to the Oak Ridge Boys at Grand Ole Opry, the Oak Ridge Boys Christmas concert. I think it's going to be as great as it sounds.
Is that tonight?
Okay. Yeah, it's tonight. Can't wait.
Yeah.
I'll be checking my phone when the NHL announces the Canada-USA rosters at 6:30 Eastern as we're rocking it out to the Christmas Elvira.
Time's the concert. That's going to be a 5:30 announcement your time.
I'm not even sure what time the concert is. I'm listening. Yeah, I'm just along for the ride. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
You know what it's like, Darren. Smile and nod.
Just enjoy the music.
Just enjoy the music. I also saw the Oak Ridge Boys at Craven. I want to say the lead singer is Joe Bonsall. He is bopping around like he was full of helium. The lead singer of Oak Ridge Boys. I seen Randy Travis, Clint Black, George Strait, most of those at Craven. Keith Urban, Kenny Chesney, the Dixie Chicks. Allegedly, I was at that concert. I was still drinking then. I've seen them all. Utah Darren writes in and he says, chuck wagon racing, I believe, is banned in the United States now. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I've been to bullfights in Mexico, too. Are you ready to go? Let's pick some NHL games. Nashville at Toronto. This should not be difficult. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Will you do me a favor and watch the game and tell me what you think of the Nashville Predators? Watch it from a Nashville point of view.
Yeah. I will.
You know, as much as you can. Okay, Boston at Chicago. What say you?
I'll take Chicago tonight at home.
They're a great. I'm not talking about the band, Darren. I'm talking about the hockey team. You still want to?
They're not going to lose every game this year. They got to win a few.
I'm taking the Bruins. Vegas Golden Knights at Anaheim. I believe the Ducks have won 3 in a row, but I'm I'm not sure I'm sold yet.
No.
Vegas just played last night. Okay, I'm going to take Anaheim. What are you doing?
Vegas.
Yeah? Okay, perfect. And the Dallas Stars visit the Los Angeles Kings tonight. That'll be decent. Who you like in that one?
Yeah. And what did we find out? Tyler Seguin's out 4 to 6 months for the Dallas Stars now.
Yeah.
Getting surgery. So that puts him back maybe for the start of the playoffs. That would be 4 months. Would be April, end of the regular season, right? I'm going to go LA.
Perfect. I'll take Dallas. We got a lot of vinegar in our picks here. That makes it always more spicy, as you know.
Yeah.
Checking in from the Alaterra text line, Alaterra Skincare. Thank you guys for answering the bell. Adam is watching in Bedford, Massachusetts right now. He says, hey, Rod, love the show. I like your area code, 902. How come there hasn't been any conversation about Crosby, Nate, and Brad as the Nova Scotian connection line? Mike drop comment from Adam from Bedford, Massachusetts. Darren, are we forgetting about Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, all these guys? Do you want to walk that back, that the USA has the better roster on paper?
No, and I'm not saying, again, this is a social media problem too, because I'll say the comment, and I'm going to stick with it. I'm not going to walk it back, but people will take that and think that it's not close. It's extremely close, but I think the USA has the edge in goal. I think maybe a slight edge on defense. And I can concede that Canada's probably got the better forwards. I don't know. I think USA might be, have a better third and fourth line maybe than Canada, maybe. But up front, I don't think you can argue with McDavid, McKinnon, Crosby. I'm not dumb. Those guys are the best. The best. But when you look at 2 out of the 3 position groups leaning USA for me, that's kind of where it comes from.
Hey, it's all good, dude. You don't get offended and the viewers don't get offended. That's what's fun about sports, as long as we can have these discussions without feathers getting ruffled. I'm just excited that we have got Adam watching in Bedford, Massachusetts. Crosby, cool. Nathan McKinnon, and Brad Marchand, the Nova Scotian connection line. To me, as I said to you earlier and to the audience, I'll be cheering for Canada. Do I think they'll win? I'd like to see the rosters first. But again, we all have a pretty good idea. The biggest question is whether Connor Bedard, and for me, the biggest question is, does Connor Bedard make the team? And even if he does, he's not going to have a big impact. That gives another political appointment is what that would be, right? Kirk in Toronto writes in. He says, hey, Rod, they light the tree here, too, at City Hall, Nathan Phillips Square, but our woke politicians call it the holiday tree. Merry Christmas to you, Rod, Moose, and your viewers. Blair in Calgary writes in and says, hello, Rod and Moose. Toronto tree lighting was November 28th at Nathan Phillips Square, City Hall. Okay, they did it here this week in Nashville. I'm in Nashville. They did it this week. Vince Gill and Amy Grant lit it. If Joshua Dorr is still watching, when did they do it in Boca? I've got all these numbers and dates and everything in my head, Darren. I'm about to go nuts. Wonder why I drank. I thank God at Grey Cup. I'm just having a tough time keeping them all straight. I think it's an age thing. But at Grey Cup, I ran into Mike Whittingham. You know Mike, legendary radio guy there. A behind-the-scenes suit and tie guy of radio. And he asked me if I was going to Super Bowl, and I said, yeah. And he said, have you applied yet for your media credentials? I said, no, but I should. He goes, well, I think it's open now. Just this morning, I went on the NFL Communications website, and the deadline's Friday of this week, December the 6th. I'm like, ooh, doggy, I better fill this out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but because we were there last year and because we were on Radio Row last year, this is the thing. Everybody is so friggin' neurotic right now in the society. Do you realize how easy things are in life? The young kids don't understand because they don't know what it was like before. But for me to fill out the NFL Super Bowl media credentials thing, I just started typing, Rod, everything popped up from last year, except for our old address in Boca Raton because we moved to another home. But other than that, everything was there. The Rod Pedersen Show, phone number, our email, everything. It was all there. It was all so easy. And I sat back and thought, what about these poor buggers 40 years ago that didn't have that? Oh, I lost. I forgot where to put you missed the deadline. You're screwed. Actually, last year, I missed the deadline for the Super Bowl accreditation, and the NFL got me in after the fact. Remember that? So they say once you're in, you're good. So the NFL is actually, of all the leagues, I swear, on the Christmas tree, the easiest to deal with and the most accommodating. It's the one thing when we deal with other leagues, and I'm like, well, the NFL does this. Well, we're not the NFL. It's easy for the NFL to do. Is it? All they do is say yes. Whatever. Any last words from you, Moose?
No, I think we're great. Enjoy Nashville, man, and the Oak Ridge boys. I'm going to be jealous tonight.
Hey, follow our social media channels. I'll be putting some stuff up on there. Oak Ridge Boys at Grand Ole Opry. Can I read you a text before we go? Did you ever meet Chad from Lethbridge? Did you ever meet Chad from Lethbridge?
I don't remember.
He writes
I feel
in
like it, but I don't. Yeah.
Chad from the 858. He's originally from Moosomin. He's a glasser from Moosomin. He writes in, he says, not sure we've ever heard you sing, RP. Can you hit that Oak Ridge Boys? Giddy up, boom, ba, mow, mow. Now, maybe you can get a record deal in Nashville. Not looking for it. Don't want to live here. It's a little cold for my liking. But I do enjoy the town, and I do enjoy the people. I enjoy the music and the food. What?
Well, I'll let you go, but all on the last note is, all I can think about is me and JR from Assiniboia on the airplane home from Nashville singing that Oak Ridge Boys song. It's Elvira, but it's the Titans. Code of conduct. Code of conduct. And they have the whole rules and stuff to the tune of Elvira. It's awesome.
Terry the lawyer writes it. He says, Seth Jarvis apparently on Team Canada. Good Winnipeg boy. Now, yeah, it's starting to trickle out. And for those that weren't watching, I said over the last 2 days, I've been consciously avoiding the insiders reports because I don't want my Christmas present opened before Christmas morning. But it's starting to come out. I should have known this was going to happen. Well, we're going to talk some dub hockey when we come back. See you, Moose. James Gallo joins us, the voice of the Warriors. We'll be right back here on Game Plus Television. We're streaming live as always and podcasting wherever the best podcasts are found.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
A live look in of Music City, USA. Preds on the road tonight at Toronto. Hour 2 of the show brought to you by Culligan, everybody. Clear water, clear choice. Filter out the bad and taste the good. Culligan Water of Regina. Check them out at culliganregina.com. We're going just down the road to Moose Jaw, the Band City, to chat with James Gallo, the voice of the Moose Jaw Warriors. Hey, James, how you doing, buddy? What's new in the Band City?
Well, you know what? We just got back early this morning. There's snow, right? I mean, I'm sure you don't miss that there, Rod.
Oh, not really. Not really. I actually have a vehicle there in Moose Jaw right now. I have a vehicle there. I said, can you sweep the snow off the bus, please, Joe? Fire it up a little bit. Take it around the block. Yeah, thanks.
Well, hopefully Big Bird's got the roof on it. Otherwise, it might get pretty cold in Big Bird. So.
Oh, I know, right? But it'll look cool, and that's all that matters. James, listen, you guys pulled the trigger on the biggest trade that would be made, I believe, in the WHL leading up to the trade deadline next month. Braden Yager being dealt to Lethbridge. Hurricanes serving notice. They're going for it. An 11-piece trade, right? To be honest, from what I've seen from Warrior fans, they get it. Disappointed, but they get it. What's been the reaction to the trades? Not just Yager, but all the trades. It's very clear what you guys are doing.
Yeah, I think that's pretty obvious. I mean, I think that's nice that the fan base understands the process that has to go on. I mean, it was a 4-year process to build to last year's championship team, and you got to start over. I mean, it's just kind of the way it is in junior hockey nowadays, where in a post-COVID world, and if you go back even further to the 17-18 season, when you're all in, you go all in, and then you have to find ways to try and recover. Now, it's unfortunate. Jackson Unger and Braden Yager were faces of a generation here at Moose Jaw. I mean, homegrown, developed here by the Warriors, and they won in Moose Jaw. But general manager Jason Ripplinger has his plan, and unfortunately that involved trading those two guys to the Lethbridge Hurricanes. Got some great pieces back. Brady Smith was spectacular, I thought, in the loss last night in his Warrior debut in Lethbridge. And then Landon Ward brings a lot of size and, a guy that can hold the opposition and I think his teammates accountable on the ice. Got a great defensive prospect in Colt Carter, and, a couple of firsts, a second, and other draft picks. So, you always have to have your eye on the future if you're general manager, and that with this move, that's what Jason Ripplinger did.
Well, and we'll talk about the Warriors in a second. You guys have said, hey, pushed your chips in or whatever, pulled them out. Lethbridge has push their chips in, I guess would be the way to say it. Are they a cut above the best or not? Like, who do you see this? Who are the big horses the rest of the way?
Small sample size, right? Small sample size to see in just one game last night. I'm sure as Braden Yager and Jackson Unger get more familiar in their surroundings, they'll get better and better. For me, I saw the Calgary Hitmen on Sunday. Boy, they're impressive, right? They're fast, they're physical, they play a really aggressive style, they check hard, they compete hard. They're going to be an impressive team. Acquired Tanner Howe back a couple of weeks ago from the Regina Pats. Carter Yakimchuk is just pure stud on the back end. Of course, you have to look at the Pedersen Hat Tigers, led by Gavin McKenna. That's a team that's tough to put your finger on them, but they're high offense. They're really entertaining. And, the Saskatoon Blades, I think a big question mark here in the Eastern Conference, right? I mean, they're sitting first in the conference, but what do they do leading up to the trade deadline will be interesting. Out west, for me, I think Everett is probably the best team that I've seen, maybe in the Western Hockey League. Fast, really talented. Landon DuPont's the real deal on the back end. I thought Vancouver really impressive when I had a chance to see them. And then when the Prince George Cougars get Riley Height back, and what does Mark Lamb do in Prince George, because they're kind of peaking on their cycle. So there's some really good teams in the Western Hockey League. I don't think it's quite like last year where in the Eastern Conference it was Moose Jaw and Saskatoon, point blank. It was Prince George and it was Portland out west. I think there's a little bit more this year, but there's still a lot to be determined. And I think a lot of teams were waiting for that Memorial Cup announcement, as 5 teams were involved. 4 of them didn't get it. So now obviously those 4 teams may swerve. Do they want to go this year, or do they want to be the Western Hockey League representative potentially next year when the Memorial Cup's in Kelowna?
What just is your take on Kelowna being named the host of the 2026 Memorial Cup?
It's a great location, Rod. You know that as well as I do. And Bruce Hamilton and his crew are going to put on an amazing show. I don't doubt that whatsoever. I think from the hockey side of things, they've got some question marks, right? Andrew Crystal, signed prospect to the Washington Capitals, potentially gone next year. Caden Price, signed to the Seattle Kraken, potentially gone next year. And Tisha Ginla, he's a high-end prospect for the Utah Hockey Club. Is he back next year as a 19-year-old? I think it's going to be interesting. But again, Bruce Hamilton's a pro, right? I mean, off the ice, I think it's going to be an amazing show. And I think on the ice, Bruce is going to do everything he can to try and win at home. And I think Bruce is going to do everything to try and get through the front door, not the back door, which is what host teams usually try and do. If I was betting, I would have bet on Spokane. That's probably who I would have bet on. But maybe there wasn't an appetite to go down south for the second time in 3 years.
I loved your stories about going to Saginaw last year where the Warriors won it all. And I know you had fun. I certainly get that. Listen, as I'm talking to the Warrior guy, can you tell me the excitement level for the Four Nations face-off rosters being announced later today? Braden Point is already there, one of the 6 names for Team Canada from the Tampa Bay Lightning. What's the buzz where you're at on these rosters?
I think we're already there, right? I mean, Braden Point's there. So, all reports kind of indicate that a guy like Morgan Riley won't land on the team. But with Braden Point there, I think the people in Moose Jaw are excited to see what he can do at that level. We've watched him from afar on what he's done with Tampa Bay, winning multiple Stanley Cups. And we were fortunate enough to watch him here in Moose Jaw. He's a special player. And I think on a bigger stage like that, he's going to show even more people how special that he is. It's just kind of getting there. I think it's when you see the roster, the one thing in Canada too, it's just like the World Juniors. When you see a roster like that, I think we talk more about who's not on it as opposed to who is actually on it. So I think that will be fun. But until the rosters are announced, I don't think that's when the excitement will really pick up.
Yeah. Okay. And lastly, what is on the horizon for the Warriors in the new year? Any exciting jersey retirements or anything fun that way?
Well, I think we've maxed out. There wasn't a lot of time to prepare for a jersey retirement. We only had 2 months off in the summertime to get ready.
Yeah.
We just had our Hall of Fame, inducted some amazing individuals in our Hall of Fame, the Multiplex Builders Group, who raised $10 million to put this downtown facility in the works, which was absolutely amazing. Jody Lehman, an all-time goaltender, and Dustin Boyd, who is an all-time forward for the Warriors. So that was pretty special. Now, it's always some great things in junior hockey. Teddy Bear Toss Night coming up this Friday. The team will do their annual Hockey Fights Cancer Night coming up in the new year, which is great. Fan appreciations is always fun. So it's maybe there's a jersey retirement next year. We don't know, but we'll have plenty of time to plan on it, I'm sure.
And Rob Carney night. Just give me plenty of notice so I can be there. Okay, James.
Every night is Rob Carney night here at Moose Jaw, Rod. Every night is Rob Carney night.
There's the headline. All right. Happy holidays, James. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Rod, to you and your family, and have fun here getting ready for World Juniors.
Thank you, pal. You too. James Gallo, the voice of the Moose Jaw Warrior. We'll be back for one final segment from Music City right after this. Whatever you would like to talk about, 902-518-3033. The Alaterra Skincare text line is open, or the streaming chat as well. We'll be right back on Game Plus TV. We are streaming live and, of course, podcasting wherever the best podcasts are found.
From cash spiels to grand slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Music City, USA. Heading out to the streets. Yeah, it is quiet downtown Nashville. Midweek, I don't know if it's going to pick up. Predators are on the road, though, so you get it. Plus 4 degrees Celsius. I know you all wanted to know. Whatever that is in Fahrenheit, I don't know. The program brought to you by Overtime Hockey Lanes, specifically Overtime, which is where we are right now from Music City in Overtime. Have you been to Overtime Hockey Lanes yet in Calgary? Just take my word for it and go. And they would like you to know, Randy and Michelle, if you were a dum-dum, that's my term, not theirs, and forgot to book a Christmas party, they got you covered. Just stop in and see them or give them a call, 28th Street, Northeast Calgary. Licensed bar, spacious shooting lanes, games for all ages. I know a lot of people that have gone there for office parties, team bonding sessions. I would not steer you wrong. Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Proud partners of the RP Show. 902-518-3033. I'm glad, Chad and Lethbridge, that we made your day. What made your day? Me singing Oak Ridge Boys tunes or saying that you were a glasser from Moosomin? You tell me. Yeah, I see that a lot of the Albertans are writing in and saying they're all pumped about the lighting of the Christmas tree. I guess they have a great Christmas celebration in Cochrane. It's a wonderful little town. I appreciate everybody from Southern Alberta coming together. So one thing we've learned this week, we got viewers far-flung all over North America, and they're into a variety of things. So in this sports update, stay tuned, because this is all what we're trying to follow. Miami's college football playoff hopes took a nosedive, while Alabama's got a boost in the last rankings before the college football playoff bracket is set next weekend. The Miami Hurricanes moved down 6 spots to number 12 after suffering their second loss of the season on the weekend. They're 1 spot behind the Crimson Tide, who won last week and moved up 2 spots to number 11. Alabama is projected as the last team in and the 4th team from the SEC. Oregon stayed at number 1 for the 5th straight week and will head into Saturday's Big Ten title game as the only undefeated team in big-time college football. Soon we'll know who those 12 teams are, and then we can really get into it. But the conjecture is out of control. There you go, Keith in Phoenix, our new viewer. An all-Alberta rivalry game will tip off the Canadian Elite Basketball League's longest season ever. This news dropped this morning. The Edmonton Stingers host a Calgary Surge on May 11th in the first matchup of the league's new 24-game format. There will be a record high 120 games played this summer and 7 playoff contests. In the CEBL, Winnipeg's Canada Life Centre will host 3 games for championship weekend, including the conference finals, doubleheader August 22nd, and the CEBL championship final on August 24th. We had a GM from the league on this show say, Rod, the RP show is a key part of growing this league and getting the word out. I'm like, then give us a call, because my summer is already filling up with the Western Canadian Baseball League, and I love it. Speaking of, Juan Soto is starting to drop teams from negotiations ahead of baseball's winter meetings next week. Likely to approach or set a record contract, the free agent slugger has met with the Yankees, Mets, Dodgers, Red Sox, and Blue Jays. Soto's agent says the outfielder has, quote, begun the process of eliminating teams, but he doesn't think a decision is imminent. What I'm hearing from people, they're tired of this. A 4-time All-Star, Soto finished 3rd in AL MVP voting after hitting .288 with 41 homers, 109 RBIs, and 129 walks this year to help the Yankees reach the World Series. You know what? I don't blame him. If you've ever been courted by teams, and trust me, I have, it's nice. They're buying you meals, they're flying you in, they're giving you the royal treatment. Why wouldn't he? It's just, keep it to yourself, Juan, and just let us know when you pick a team. How about that? That's the only part of this. Yeah, that's the only thing that I think people are tired of. The sports update's brought to you by Seat Giant. Stop paying U.S. dollars for games and concerts. It's Canadian-owned and operated with Canadians in mind. Super Bowl, college football, Taylor Swift, they've got it all. Use promo code RPShow for 15% off now. Check us out at seatgiant.ca. And also brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. Get more of what you love with the Landmark Extras Rewards program. Free movies, free concession items, invites to private screenings. They also have it all. There are 3 rewarding programs to choose from. They get you something extra with every movie purchase you make. Check them out at landmarkcinemas.com for free today. I might add, I should check the latest. The poll question today for our friends at EMJ Marketing. Let me just call it up here and see. Who's the most surprising team in the NHL this season? I can't believe anybody would vote for anybody but Calgary, but variety is the spice of life, they say. Our options are Calgary, Minnesota, Washington, or other. Leading the way, 31% of you saying the most surprising team is the Calgary Flames. In a tie for second, Minnesota and Washington, both with 28% and 13% saying other. I think it's the Calgary Flames. 8 days a week. First year of a rebuild, and what an unbelievable story. Minnesota, yeah, they fired their coach last year. And what does that say? It says that the voice was getting old of Dean Evison in Minnesota. John Hine has got him rolling. Mark K. writes in and says, Mark from Edmonton, you're a great interviewer, Rod, with Mark Killam. Very excited for the Elks. Respect is back. Listen, that wasn't any of me. That was all Mark. He's the great interview. I appreciate the nice comments, by the way. But it was him. The interview guests make the interviews, and the viewers make the show. Don't tell anybody I said that, but without you, there would be no us. Colt says, Swift Cougar starts this week. Taylor Swift is going to tear up BC Place. God, I hope not. I think that's it. Thanks to James Gallo. Thanks to Gus Frerotte. For nothing, Gus. But we got to it all. Didn't get to our top 5, bottom 5, though. Thank you, Mark K. You the man. We'll see you all tomorrow. Be safe.
Truth's in the coffee. It's Truth Serum.